A young woman with a birthmark that once brought her shame proposes a marriage pact to escape her family's control. A young man with no means to pursue his dreams agrees, thinking it's only temporary. But what if this arrangement, meant to free them both, ends up binding them in ways they never expected? Before we continue, have you subscribed yet? Hit that button for more amazing stories and tell us in the comment where you're watching from. In the quiet, misty town of Thornavale, where red brick houses pressed against cobbled streets, lived a young man named Aaron Solis. He was a mechanic's apprentice, bright, reliable, and quietly content with his simple life. Romance was never a priority, but when his mother nudged him to attend the lavish engagement banquet of the town's wealthiest family, the Kestrels, he reluctantly agreed. That evening, his life changed forever. There he saw her, Nerys Kestrel, the only daughter of shipping magnate Aldros Kestrel. But what caught Aaron off guard wasn't the shimmer of her dress or her family's fortune. It was the distinct mark on her face, a dark swirl stretching from her left eye to her cheekbone. It looked like a paintbrush had kissed her skin. She carried it not with shame, but a stoic defiance that made her unforgettable. Years ago, when Nerys was born, Aldros had nearly collapsed in disappointment. He had dreamed of a strong heir, a boy who would inherit his empire. When the midwife announced it was a girl, and one marked so visibly, his pride deflated. Though he tried to mask it, he viewed Nerys as a flaw in his perfect design. Over time, she learned to live under that gaze, one of polite obligation, not pride. As Nerys grew, so did the whispers. Even among her siblings, she was the butt of cruel jokes. The cursed star, one brother called her. Her mother tried to soothe the pain, but did little to stop it. Nerys internalized it all, believing that love was for girls with smooth faces and fair features. Not her. Marriage. She never dreamed of it. Her heart beat for books, maps, and the dream of studying at the prestigious Mirwood Academy. But Aldros had other plans. He believed daughters were to be married well, not educated. He refused her pleas to attend university unless she married first. And not just anyone, but someone of strategic value to the family. Meanwhile, Aaron, too, had a secret. He had been accepted to a top mechanical institute in Kaelmore, but had no means to attend. At the banquet, he and Nerys found themselves seated beside each other. They spoke, not about the weather or money, but about escape, dreams, and the suffocation of expectation. Then came her proposal. "Marry me," Nerys said bluntly, "in name only. You get funding to study. I get permission to leave. We go together, pretend to be in love, and when it's over, we part ways." Aaron nearly choked on his drink. "You want to fake a marriage?" "Not fake. Legal. Just temporary. Think of it as a contract. A pact." Though stunned, Aaron agreed. It was mad, but it made sense. When they announced their engagement, Aldros was ecstatic. His daughter, the marked one finally spoken for, it was more than he expected. He threw them a grand wedding. Nerys wore a veil that partially obscured her mark, but not her eyes, cold, fierce, and unwavering. Aaron stood beside her, calm but deeply aware of the performance they were staging. After the ceremony, Aldros pulled Aaron aside. "Thank you for marrying her. I know she's not conventional, but I'm sure she'll try to be a good wife." Aaron's jaw clenched. "Sir, your daughter is extraordinary. That mark doesn't lessen her. It defines her strength." Their words never reached Nerys, but something in Aaron's gaze told her he'd stood up for her. In Kaelmore, the young couple shared a cramped flat and lived like students, not spouses. Nerys studied political science, Aaron engineering. They worked odd jobs to keep some distance from Aldros's money. Despite the pact, they moved fluidly in each other's space, cooking, studying, arguing, laughing. The line between arrangement and affection blurred. One night, Nerys sat in bed, fingers tracing the curve of her birthmark in the mirror. "You know, I used to dream of scrubbing this off, of waking up normal." Aaron looked up from his notebook. "I used to think success meant fixing machines. Now it feels more like unlearning everything people taught me about worth." She looked at him. "Do you regret this?" He shook his head. "I regret not meeting you sooner." They fell into routines that looked nothing like a marriage, but felt more intimate than most could imagine. Their lives overlapped not out of obligation, but natural rhythm. They began to rely on each other to finish each other's thoughts. They knew each other's silences as well as their words. When Nerys fell sick with the flu before midterms, Erin skipped class to make her soup and read her lecture notes aloud. When Erin's final project failed in a mechanical breakdown, Nerys stayed up with him until dawn, helping him rebuild it by flashlight and instinct. They were a team. By graduation, they were inseparable. The pact dissolved without a word. They didn't divorce. They didn't separate. They simply stayed because they wanted to. Together, they opened a legal mechanical consultancy firm, combining her expertise in law and policy with his in technology. They named it Mark and Measure, a nod to the birthmark that once defined Nerys' shame, and now her pride. One afternoon during their office's soft opening, a client asked them how they met. They exchanged a glance. Through a very unconventional scholarship program, Erin replied with a grin. Nerys laughed, shaking her head. And through the only kind of contract that truly matters, one written not in ink, but in trust. Their love hadn't bloomed from spark or fate, but from something rarer, mutual liberation, and it endured.